Classic cars can be an excellent investment. If chosen wisely, their value can multiply in the long term, and moreover, owning an iconic car that can't be produced again is not just about having it parked somewhere all the time. With this investment asset, you can attend meetings of classic car lovers and enjoy every ride. And that's something many people have as a hobby. Maybe even to your mind already came an idea to purchase a classic car. Still, there's a huge amount of different models you can choose from, and it's not always easy to make the right decision about spending your money on a particular classic car. So, as I promised you guys in one of my previous videos, in this video I'd like to give you some tips on what classic cars are a good investment. I've selected ones that I personally like, that are affordable for common people, and I believe you will like them as well. And I will start off this list of collective vehicles in a big way, because the first car I chose is an off-road Jeep Cherokee XJ. You might not expect this choice, but I'm going to explain why I see potential in this car. The XJ was sold during the 1984 and 2001 years, and in this period of time sold around 3 million pieces of this vehicle. At the time of production, this car was available in 2 or 4-door versions and with rear or 4-wheel drive configurations. If you are interested in the difference between 2 and 4-door versions, you should know that the 2-door version has longer doors and front seats that can be folded forward in order to assist passengers in entry and exit. This car was called by Jeep Sportwagon, which has a similar meaning that is being used for today's SUV vehicles. XJ is a widely spread car not only in the United States but in China, South America, Egypt and Southeast Asia as well, because of former production in those countries. There were available several engines that have between 85 and 190 horsepower. Nowadays, Jeep Cherokee's XJ's price is somewhere around $10,000 for a well-maintained car, which is quite a nice amount of money for this, I would say, almost iconic car. Personally, I would recommend looking for original pieces because they are much more valued than modified and lifted ones. Not lifted means not having some specific changes at the chassis and not having huge wheels and tires as is popular nowadays. Moreover, this car is extremely durable, so it can be used even for different expeditions as well. But in my opinion, it would be a shame to destroy such a car in the top condition somewhere in the wilderness. Anyways, purchasing Cherokee XJ would store your money in a good way. The next tip I have prepared for you is the German classic Audi S4 B5. Well, S4 is maybe not considered a classic car yet, but I would definitely call it a future classic car. When looking for Audi S4 as an investment car, you should take a look mainly at the 2 first generation of this car that were manufactured between 1991 and 2001 year. For those of you who don't know what's the difference between the A4 and S4 Audi, it's all about performance. The S4 is more powerful than A4, and that's one of the reasons why the Audi S4 is much more valuable. Moreover, S4 has over A4 many other advantages, like for example larger upgraded brakes, larger wheels, and overall this model looks much more stylish. Now, few words about price. There are pieces with a price tag of around $25,000 and with $7,000 at the same time. Here it's also true that well-maintained and original pieces have a much higher price. And we can move on with Honda Prelude. This Japanese car is immediately recognizable for its unique design, especially in its third generation, which was produced from 1987 to the 1991 year, and is mainly because of pop-up lights. Those lights are typical for some cars from the 90s, and Honda Prelude is one of them. Personally, I really love cars with this type of front light that can be opened when driving and closed after a ride. Prices of this car differ greatly according to a specific generation and overall car condition, but mostly it ranges somewhere between $9 to $90k. In case of being interested in purchasing a Prelude, you should definitely check the transmission of this car because this part is considered the weakest of the whole vehicle. So when taking a test drive, listen carefully to hear potential noises coming from the transmission. Anyway, the overall reliability of this car is excellent because Honda Prelude was produced at a time when Honda was at the top of its game. So when you are looking for an instant car that could be used also as a vintage touring car, this would be a great choice. Moreover, there's a significant reason why Prelude gains on its value could be higher than other competitors will have. And it's simply the fact that Honda since the year 2001 hasn't made another Prelude, and releasing a car with this name is highly unlikely in the future. Visually quite similar to Honda's Prelude is Toyota Supra in its second and third generation, which were produced in the 80s and early 90s. Well, this one is maybe not as affordable as the remaining cars on my list presented in this video, but in comparison with the most popular generation of Supra that starred in Fast and Furious, it's still quite a cheap price. On various websites offering vintage cars, you can find them with price tags of around $25 or $30K. This legendary car was produced in its third generation in the late 70s, and it was not a completely new car because this car was based on Toyota Celica. Later in 1986, Toyota as a producer completely separated Supra from Celica. Yeah, with the second or third generation of this vehicle, you will probably not be a center of attention everywhere like when owning a Supra in its fourth generation, but still you will have a car with something that no other Supra has. Of course, I mean those beautiful pop-up front lights. I hope you will forgive me for being so obsessed with them. I truly love cars with pop-up lights, and for this reason my classic car list couldn't miss Mazda RX-7. This classic car was produced in 3 generations during the years 1978 and 2002. In particular, you should focus on the first generation of this vehicle. Although it's the least popular among all the produced generations, they are also cheapest and most affordable to ordinary people. And moreover, you will have plenty of pieces to choose from because at the time of production around 380,000 landed in the USA. Prices on the US market for RX-7 in the first generation are currently somewhere around $13,000. However, this car was a popular choice for tuners who often made crazy modifications to RX-7. So when choosing this vehicle for investment purposes, you should avoid these cars with replaced turbos, various body modifications and interior changes. Porsche 944 is the next investment classic car I'd like to talk about a bit. This car, whose production started in 1982 and lasted until 1991, is one of the most affordable classic car Porsches with price tag starting around $10,000. For this price, you will get a car with great driving ability and acceleration from 0 to 97 km per hour in less than 9 seconds. Cars that were in the 90s and early 90s exported to the North American market had bigger bumpers and replaced auxiliary lights because of North American laws. So when you notice those little changes, they were not made by tuners and are the original pieces mounted during the car manufacturing. I'm really passionate about American true muscle cars, so the next classic car I will take a closer look at is the Chevrolet Camaro Z28. Okay, now you may think Camaro, an iconic classic car and affordable. Well, this one produced in the mid-80s is not as expensive as other generations. When searching advertisements, it's not rare to see here these cars with a requested price tag of around $15,000. On the other hand, you will probably agree with me that this third generation is not the most beautiful one according to its exterior design compared to the other generations of Camaro. But looking from the investment point of view, nowadays even those Camaros are slowly gaining by every year more value. With the next classic car investment tip, I will stick with muscle cars as well, because the 1973 Ford Ranchero is on my list. This unique vehicle is nowadays possible to get for around $15K, and that's in my opinion a good price for something this construction can't be compared with no ordinary car. Now I mean conventional versions, those with the GT label are much more expensive, and why I'm talking about its uniqueness? Mainly because of a great combination of coupe and cargo bed in the body. Yeah, it's definitely not a standard pickup truck. Unlike the previous 5th generation, the 6th generation of Ranchero has a heavier design of the exterior, which I really like to look at. The interesting fact is that 1972 was the final year before new federal standards for front impact protection caused the necessity of mounting large bumpers onto all vehicles, including Ranchero. I started this list with an off-road vehicle, and Jeep Cherokee XJ was not the only off-road investment classic car I've prepared for you. The following tip will be probably even more surprising than the first one. I will stress you out and reveal that it's Suzuki Samurai. This little 4-wheel drive vehicle was for Suzuki the first 4-wheel vehicle sold in the US market, but already several years ago this tiny off-road car gained notable success in other countries. But at the time it wasn't named Samurai but Jimmy. The name Samurai this car acquired when it was imported to the United States for the first time. In 10 years when Suzuki Samurai was sold in the United States, over 200,000 units were sold here, which is quite a good result for a car of these parameters. For this success is definitely responsible its price at the time, which started at $6,550, and it was around 2/3 of the new 1987 Jeep Wrangler. For quite a long time Suzuki Samurai were one of the cheapest off-road in the United States, but recently their prices started to get higher. Nowadays it's possible to purchase one of them for a price ranging somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000. So if you want a nimble and agile car that is not typical American style, investing in the Samurai would be a great choice for you. You might think that paying more than $10,000 for a tiny vehicle like Samurai would not be a good move, but as those unusual off-road cars are being destroyed and modified, the price of Samurais probably skyrocket in the next years and decades. When buying Samurai, you should definitely check carefully its underbody and engine, that some owners swapped the original 1.3 liter for a more powerful 1.6 liter engine. I'm talking about that because buying Suzuki Samurai with a non-stock engine could bring you some problems with emissions and problems on the road, and it's something you definitely want to avoid. As you can see, there are so many options when choosing a classic car for instant purposes, and although finding a collective vehicle in a great condition sometimes takes a lot of time, when you finally succeed and drive home with it, it's a nice feeling. I believe you'll find inspiration in this video on the topic of affordable classic cars to buy nowadays. If so, I will really appreciate if you make a decision to subscribe to my channel and set a notification bell to all notifications from my channel for other useful videos on topics of investing and similar stuff. I've prepared for you a little bonus and tip on a valuable piece of content to watch. So if you are interested in different ways how to protect your money against inflation, I believe this video would help you. That's all for today, and I will look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye!